Buff Musa.
You always request to buff Musa, but never request how Musa. They're crazy. But oh, hello. It's time for day 2 of me straining my voice to yap about the lore of this game. And it's ever complicated and
That's cause Musa's suffering.
it's ever complicated and twisted nightmare. Yes, yay, more lore. So I do have it. Today's lore topics are a lot looser than the first days. Because the first day was really complex of trying to get all of the deities down because they are, by all intents and purposes, incredibly confusing. Today I only have like two.
Seppuku self.
I only have two big topics to talk about, but that won't really cover the full 2 hours. But we will have a second for what I believe is coming with Adani 2. Um, which is super interesting. Because I have been spending a very large amount of time putting together some of these, events they've been giving us, lore, teaser, tidbit, stuff like that. They didn't think anyone was gonna be picking up on, but I did. I was ready for it. As soon as I saw it, I immediately went to my DMs and was like, "Yo, there's stuff going on." You thought I would notice, but I did, because I pay attention. Um, but today's gonna be a little more relaxed. What we're gonna cover today is gonna be the Black Spirits, and then our Black Spirits specifically because there's some contention about that little boy, little puffball. And then we're going to be talking about the Adana, the original, and then the ones that come after, and a little bit of speculation. I'm going to be honest on what it actually means, because we have kind of like a lore term for it, but it doesn't wholly make sense directly. So we're going to go into a little more speculation on that. And after that, I'm going to be going over what I think is going to be coming and what to expect. And then after that, we'll do another questions and answers if anyone has some lore questions. Or, honestly speaking, if you have the gameplay questions, you can go ahead and ask those too. I'm a massive nerd. Uh, but with that, let us get into the next part, um, which is Uh, I mean, the history of the Black Spirits is going to be a little intertwined with the first Adonis, so I'm going to kind of cover them both at the same time. And I'm going to be honest, a good chunk of it, I don't want to say is incorrect now, but could possibly be either retconned or what we were originally told, kind of like with Elian and Sylvia, is no longer 100% accurate as we get more hard details from direct sources. And you guys are put into an ad. Oh my god. Alrighty, we're back. So we will be busting out the poorly drawn MS Paint again, everybody. And it's going to suck for me. Okay, I need to resize this there you go, so I can see chat. And I'll resize it on stream. Alrighty, how's that? Is that big enough for y'all to be able to see still? Okay, we're gonna can I like just make the background black? We'll do it like that. Okay, so we have. There's 3 topics we're going to be talking about first. So first is going to be the original black meteor that fell down in Valencia. So we got the meteor, its spookiness. It fell down and hit Valencia. Me draw one of its weird looking towers. Oh boy, my hand is not operating well today. Let me draw some whoosh lines. So, oh, it's so bad. So we have the original black meteor that hit the
Oh, somebody stop me.
that hit the Valencia desert. When it hit the Valencia desert, it scattered all of the black stones all around. But tied with the black stones, either, and we still don't know for a fact which it is, either the spirits are drawn to the power of the black stones, or the spirits are the crystallized manifestation of the black stones. So, or the black stones are the crystallized manifestation of the black spirits. We don't know which is which. It's one or the other. Either the black stones are a primordial shard of creation, and they hold power corrupted, and that's why the black spirits are drawn to them.
Oh, who's a good boy?
Shout out here with the sub. 6 months of Prime with a 2-month streak. The goat derailing me. So we don't know if they're either a primordial manifestation of the corruption and the black spirits are chasing them to absorb that and get stronger, or it's reversed and the black spirits are the crystallizing into black stones themselves. I don't know which one it is. It could be either. It could be both. There are black spirits that are not turned into black stones, and then they're hunting to try and consume other black spirits to get stronger. Whatever. But this started the first war. Now, I will say, when it did crash, it was not Valencia at the time. Well, it kind of was. But it was actually the original version of the kingdom. This is the kingdom of the ancients. Now, not to be confused with the ancient kingdom Orzeka. This is the civilization that kind of predates Orzeka's rise and is the original civilization on BDO. This is the civilization that gave birth to the 4 orphans that became the rulers of Ataraxian. This is the civilization that created the Aetors, Puterum, Kudum, all of the Hashruit, all of those direct creations came from this civilization and their first king, Adana. Now, Adana is interesting because when the black meteor fell and created the black stones and the black spirits and all of that, the ancient civilization realized that they could be used as both a power source, but also you could bind yourself to stones, increasing your own physical strength. But this would slowly drive you mad, as the spirit consumed both your memories and your body, giving it to itself. Like, think of like normal possession, right? However, Adana was different. He was a Giga Chad. There's my Giga Chad hair. It's beautiful. My art, gorgeous. But he was different. He could bind not only with a black spirit, but he was able to bind to multiple black spirits and completely control them. He was the first being to equal Gigaspud. He was the first being to enter in equilibrium with the black spirits. He could completely house their power without going mad. He was the first being to be able to do that. Now, what's important about this is because he was able to do that, this gave rise to an insanely powerful civilization. The first empire on the material world, and what dominated the race, the entire planet for a very, very long time, because they housed the Black Spirits and their king was unbeatable. This man was at the top of the list. But as time went on, he witnessed that the Black Spirits and the Blackstones were not just corrupting the people that tried to bind with them, but also were corrupting the very land itself, destroying life, creating creating what became the completely uninhabitable desert that it is now. Because there are supposedly, we don't entirely know it's true because we have no visualization of this, and the first time we ever, the oldest we see of Valencia is post-civilization destruction, so we don't entirely know. But supposedly, originally, Valencia looked more closer to how Arahaza looks over the coast.
Oh, who's a good boy? Oh.
Shad with the 5 gifted. You're trying to kill me. I'm already so stressed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But closer to how Arahaza looked, in the coast, which I can actually show us on the map real quick. Let me go ahead and... So the entire desert is completely barren and stuff, but supposedly the original civilization was still desert, but it was desert oasis. It had vegetation, it had water, it had life throughout a majority of the desert. Now, again, I don't know if this is entirely true. This is just what we're shown and what's told in some lore tidbits of various item cards. So it's possible that this is just him. The people were like, "Oh, the black spirits completely ruined our civilization. They drew our entire region into a desert by corrupting the very land itself." It's possible. We don't know. There's been no hard set. We've never seen it. We don't entirely know. But that is one of the things we were told. Now, where's my paint? There it is. There's my poorly drawn paint. So we have the meteor of the fall, creating all the Blackstones. Blackstones gave rise to the first bound beings. Hello, hello, hello. And then these bound beings gave rise to the ancients. They created the Aetors, they created the Pudrums, they created all of the ancient civilization constructs that we fight now. So all of those things, right? But as Adana, the first king, watched the corruption spread, destroying the land, destroying the people, he went, this is not good. And so he created the first sets of spirit seals. Now, what's interesting is these spirit seals do come up again later in the story, actually quite a few times, as they get copied by civilizations later, witnessing the sheer ingenuity and power that Adana used when creating the seals. But these are known as the Veltara seals. Now, what's weird is they're called the Veltara seals now. They predate Veltara by a few centuries. So I don't know if they were named that later or not, but the first of which that we are ever introduced to is Ancient Stone Chamber. Now, let us clear board. Turn it black again because that white hurts my eyes. Okay, so the first we are ever introduced to is Ancient Stone Chamber. Now, Ancient Stone Chamber is like a pedestal, like a little bubble on it. Oh, god. And then, like, the floating cube with the squigglies. If you guys remember back in the, like, literally start of the game, and it's inside the big room with, like, the prophecy of destruction, and it has the door to Ataraxian in it, right? And this cube also has some squigglies. So we got the first seal of Ancient Stone Chamber. Now what's important is what beings were sealed away in all of these Veltara seals, all of these ancient seals. Well, for one, we know that there are a lot of these all throughout the map. We're actually going to show off a few of the ones that I have found that aren't directly talked about in the story. So we have Ancient Stone Chambers, right? We have the one that's right here. There was one in Kron Castle. There is one in Helm's Post. There is another one built behind. I guess Marnie's realm or Marnie's lab was built on top of it. Where did Marnie's lab go? There it is, Marnie's lab. Marnie's lab built his lab on top of one. There are two in Histria. Where's Histria? That's Ackman. That's right, Histria's over here. There are two in Histria. I think I've seen one in Ackman. Not super positive on that one. There is 4 below Valencia Castle. Valencia Castle. Over here. Over here. No, I think it's behind the castle, or it's below the castle itself. I think. It's been a long time since I've done that quest. There are 2 in Calphion, there's one in Breachery Ruins, but there's also a second one in Caphras Cave. Now, Caphras Cave's seal is super important, because that one will come up again later. There is another one in Glish Swamp in this island right here, I believe, is where there is another one. Brain, work for me. Do I remember where all of them are? My brain works like 80% of the time, guys. I'm trying. But regardless, there are a lot of them all throughout the map, which is important for 2 reasons. First, it shows how widespread. First, the meteor, the original black meteor that fell, spread the black stones and the black spirits because they had to be sealed across the entire material world, not just in the region they fell, but also the sheer dominance the ancient civilization had. If they were able to put up seals across the entire world, that means they ruled and conquered the entire world. Everything that has the ancient seal was under their control, which is wild when you think about. Even now, the strongest civilizations we have are barely able to conquer a single region and don't even have full coverage over that region, versus the ancient civilization in the past dominated everything, which is absolutely insane to think about. But the beings that were sealed away were the what I have called minor black spirits. Now, I call them minor black spirits for 2 reasons. So, yes, the hype train. We got a chest. Oh, I guess let me click to open it. Do I have to click to open it? Oh, we got a weird looking frog as an emote. Neat. But I call them minor black spirits. But they didn't just seal away black spirits. No. Because that wouldn't stop the problem. Because not the black spirits were corrupting the land, but they were also corrupting people. And if they sealed away all the black spirits, people would still seek them out, because they would still gain that strength. The greed of living beings to grow stronger is innate. It just happens. It just exists in all of us. So, King of Adonia, being the big brain Giga Chad he was, didn't just seal away the black spirits, but he also sealed away memories. Were you guys in an ad that whole time? I need to pay better attention. Recovering the last 30 seconds. Black spirits didn't just corrupt the land, they also corrupted people. And if he only sealed away the black spirits, people would still go seek them out and try and break the seals. Because the greed and the desire to grow stronger is innate to all living beings. So he's like, okay, that's not how we're going to do this. Big brain Giga Chad Adana went, I'm not only sealing away the black spirits, but he also sealed away memories of the black spirits, completely erasing them from civilization's existences. Which is why even now, centuries later, after countless studying and all of that, we still, generally speaking, the general population doesn't know that the black spirits really exist. There are a few civilizations that do, that had secondary and tertiary runs-in with black spirits and various events like that, but overall, there are very few civilizations that know about them, because Adana was so smart and went, we're gonna lock away all of it so people don't even try and go hunt down the seals to free them. But I call them minor black spirits for two important reasons. First, this is given to us by our black spirit himself, itself, Puffball self. There are ranks and categories to these spirits. This is also collaborated in the Odalita questline with the original consumed Ahib and the War of the Elves. Not all spirits are equal in strength. Some spirits are stronger, and we learn that there are three ways that the spirits gain strength. The first way is age. The older a spirit is, the stronger it gets, as it amasses knowledge and it amasses power. The second way is by absorbing other sources of corruption, whether that's other spirits or other fragments of Blackstones, the original meteor, and based on my theorizing, it is my theory, but the black meteor could have originally been Hadun being cast out by Sylvia in her very first set of shattering, when she made all the worlds, because Hadum predates all of the other gods, and the other gods existed in the second shattering. But if Hadum predates them, that means Hadum had to have been in the first shattering, which means she would exist pre-material world. Hadum generally gets cast out of Elvia and banished into a different world. We originally theorized that it's the Void, but she might be sent away from the Void, or she might be sent to the material world as the first black meteor, as we learn that a different meteor comes down, the Black Star, in the same way that the original meteor did, and it's a god that was corrupted. Hadum is the god of corruption. No gods were corrupted before then, so it's very, very likely that the original black meteor that caused the initial corruption and black spirits was actually Hadum, and Hadum gets banished later on by Sylvia, resulting in her second shattering, and that's how we get the current pantheon we do. We don't entirely know what the first black meteor was. We never see any evidence of it. We never know what it is. Just, it's a corrupting essence, and that usually relates to Hadum. But that is the second way black spirits gain strength, is by consuming more essences of corruption and gaining strength by either black spirits or other parts. The third way black spirits gain strength is by binding themselves to a living being and consuming the being's memories. The more memories they eat, the stronger their control over the host gets, until they can take over the host. And if they fully take over the host, they completely corrupt and change the host into the black spirit's desire, and that gives them exponential strength, as they can turn the very life force that they consumed into raw power, because black spirits are immortal. Now, the spirits and their categories, we don't entirely know how many ranks there are. The difference between lower tier, mid tier, and higher tier is how I'm going to separate them. But the mid tier and high tier spirits, we have learned, can't exist outside of being bound to a living being. The minor spirits can exist naturally. They can float around, they can free themselves from curses, but the mid tier and higher tier spirits can only bind to a being. Their raw essence is too strong to exist separately. They either collapse in on themselves. This is more my guessing. They either collapse in on themselves because they're too strong, or there is something protecting the material world directly from their influence, as they are sources of corruption. I think this is the original barrier of light that was put up by Sylvia, because in the past, medium and higher tier spirits still did exist. Naturally, they came with the black meteor. If they can't exist now, that leads me to believe that something is preventing them from existing now. and Sylvia did put up the barrier to stop all the invasions, all that, and we got Zarka and all of that we talked about last week, or not last week, Tuesday. So in the all of our Veltara seals, we have the minor black spirits or the memory fragments of the ancient civilization. Most of the time, a little bit of both. Now, what's important about this is these exist to seal away the black spirits because they were unable to be fully removed from our world. But not all of the Veltara seals are equal, let's say, equal in strength, per se. Some of them have more spirit, some of them have less. But what's interesting is there's only one Veltara seal that we ever know about that only houses one spirit, and no memories. It only imprisoned one being, and nothing else. Now, what's important about that is that, whatchamacallit, that seal, we've only ever seen one time, but we do witness it. But I will say, a majority of players don't witness it. The reason that they don't ever see it, or don't even know about it, is because it is the seal that you get in the tutorial. The prologue to BDO, the original... Hold on, typing. Got me sidetracked. What's the item name? Which item name? It wasn't an item. So all of these all of the Veltara seals, they're not like items you can interact with, they're like structures you see. Yeah, it's like a big... So, like, in the original quest, you can still see it if you go into Histria. You can still go into that room that you were betrayed in, which I think is super, super cool. I really wish there was, like, maybe, like, a lore interactable in that room that was like, this is where it all started or something. If y'all are listening. Hint, hint, that would be really, really cool. But yeah, it's the original Veltara seal. Like, in the Ancient Stone Chamber, like, the first quest you do in Belenos, well, that one is the Ancient Stone Chamber. That's this right here. What, like, inside with the big box and floating cube up top. That's the second one you interact with. Most people think that's the first one you ever interact with. It's not. It's the second. I'm talking about the original intro quest, the first time you ever make a character and it says, do you want to play the tutorial? That room where you first see Elezra and your adventurer dies and the black spirits... No, that's the second one. That's the second one. The very, very first time with Elezra, and she kills you, and the Black Spirit's like, hey, partner, and then you wake up in Ancient Stone Chamber, and the Black Spirit's like, ha ha ha, you've been asleep a long time. Which you have been asleep a very long time. And it had... Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, yeah, the very, very first one with Elezra and all that. What's important, what's super, super important is, one, Elezra knew what being was sealed inside that pillar, in that original Veltara seal, and two, she purposely led us there and purposely killed us in order to create a hybrid being. Now, Yes, but what's important about that is she could have just had the Black Spirit possess us. She could have told us to try and consume its power. But she didn't want to do that. What's interesting about that is the other Adonas that exist because there is the King Adana. He was the very first being to become equal in strength with the Black Spirit. But he pulled the Black Spirit into himself and added to it, and that didn't create a perfect being. Um, we'll get into that in a little bit, but we need to finish off on what's so important about our Black Spirit. Now, I don't know if it's different now because I haven't fully finished off the changed Serenity or Calpheon quests yet, but I did play the original versions of them as well as into Medaya, Valencia, Camisylvia, Odalina. Is that the same essence we pulled out from Igor's log for our Black Spirit? All of the other... What's my gear score? I don't know off the top of my head. I'm in training gear. It's like... Oh, it's over 810. I know that. I don't know the exact amount off the top of my head. It's 372, 445, I think? 446? I don't know, something like that. But yeah, all of the black essences you see all throughout the story, those are not the same being, but those are black spirits, or essences of corruption. It's important that we do both. The black spirit can absorb other black spirits, but also essences of corruption. This is important to the story because the whole main antagonist that we've come up so far is Hadum, the god of corruption. If our black spirit can consume and harness essences of corruption, that prevents us from being corrupted by Hadum. We can stand against that. We can be the beacon of light. Now, what's important about our black spirit is during the original quests and what we learn later on, our black spirit is unique. Our black spirit not only is one of the only high-tier spirits we ever come across, but even among high-tier spirits, our black spirit is substantially stronger and possesses its own will. Now, what's important about that is the black spirits themselves don't necessarily have their own will. They have a driving force to get stronger and corrupt. Consume and corrupt is their, driving force. Eventually, if they completely consume a person, they generally gain some form of sentience, but even the black spirits we interact with that have fully consumed multiple beings of sentience are still barely able to form basic, toddler-level speech. And our black spirit, from the very beginning, is completely sentient, has his own will, and is able even to form complex thoughts, including an entire plan to consume us entirely. Even if he'd consumed a host, he wouldn't be as smart as he was. He stands in a league of his own. And personally, to me, I have two theories on this. First, he is the original black spirit. He is the oldest being of the spirits, and he exists before the corruption of Adana. My second theory is all the black spirits are essences of Hadum, as we assume, but when the black meteor fell, and the meteor fell, creating the black stones and all the spirits, not all of the spirits are equal in size. Let's say, when you break a mirror and you get all the pieces, kind of like how when Sylvia is shattered, not all the shards are equal strength. I think our black spirit was the largest shard, was a massive fragment that materialized, and that's why he's so much stronger. Now, we have no idea what he is, why he's so much stronger, and I hope so badly in Adarnia 2 we get some backstory on Elezra and our black spirit, because we still don't know how Elezra knew he was what was sealed away, like an ant hive or a control unit sort of mentally. We know that they're not hive mind-esque or even troop-esque. They are very independent in existence. So we're not entirely positive, but I hope we get some backstory on them, because Elezra not only knew that it was the being that was sealed to that pillar, but also where it was, and that it would immediately try and bind to us, instead of just leaving our body for dead, because there were quite a few beings in there that it could try and have possessed, but it chose us directly. Now, the reason why it chose us directly is, according to the game, we have the blood of Adana. The original king of Adana, yeah, it immediately went to us. Now, what's interesting is the blood of Adana is a trait beings require in order to be able to stand with a black spirit, in order to resist its corruption and become stronger. Without it, the black spirit will completely consume you, turning you into a monster. What's strange, and why I think the blood of Adania is not necessarily the actual blood, like you're a descendant of him, but instead something else, is for first and foremost, Adana never has children. There are no descendants of Adana by blood. He has no kids. He has a wife, the original queen. She gets killed before his first child is born. So if we are all descendants of Adana, we all possess the blood of Adana, where did it come from? Because his bloodline ended with him. Now, there are two theories. First is he had like a defining blood type or another world biologically distinct. See, that's the kind of common theories. Like Adana actually had like bastard children, or someone experimented on his corpse. You know, Barney's crazy self took some of his DNA and created like clones, and those clones had children, so on and so forth. That's one theory. My personal theory is the blood of Adana is because people don't understand a concept. Am I getting read a BDO lore bedtime story? That is all of what today is supposed to be, is covering the last chunk of lore, getting ready for Adania 2. So, bear with me. Now, what I think the blood of Adana is, because, remember, as we talked about on Tuesday, nobody knew who Sylvia actually was, nor did they know about who the gods really were. Now, we talked about how when Sylvia shattered the second time, not all of the shards manifested in deities, but instead manifested in light that could be infused into living beings, similar to how Libresca possessed light. Now, my theory is that the blood of Adana is actually, lore-wise speaking, a piece of Sylvia inhabiting a minor being, a mortal. And that light of Sylvia is what allows us to stand with a black spirit without them completely consuming us. Because their all-encompassing darkness can't snuff out Sylvia's light, the light of the primordial god of creation. That is my personal theory, because no civilization knew Sylvia was the primordial goddess of creation. No civilization knew about the lights or shards of Sylvia, so them thinking that all beings descend from Adana makes sense. He was the first and only being to do it. Then, centuries after his death, other beings are able to do it. They have to be descendants of him. Or they possess the same trait as him. I think that's might. We are able to bring back the light with the Camusylph tree. Well, see, what's super interesting about that, and why...
Musa killed himself 29 minutes ago.
What's interesting about us reviving the Camusylph tree is, depending on if you're any character aside from Ranger, Ranger gets a different dialogue option, because Ranger in her class lore is directly said a shard of Sylvia, which is really interesting. And y'all are in ad, I shall be. Alrighty. So what's important about our Ranger, our playable character Ranger, being directly called the Shard of Sylvia and possessing much more power, is if there's some gameplay contextual issues, but the lore issues are what is a little more impactful to me. So, the story of BDO is very much designed to be solo. All of the events take place because your character is the main character. Now, my problem with that and it's not exactly like a direct problem like but it begs some questions. Is if our character, let's say you're playing ranger, archer, sage, witch, wizard, scholar, or deadeye, those what, seven? Yeah, seven characters in their own class's lore, in their own existence, have a massive problem. Because all of those beings, first and foremost, exist outside of BDO's like story. They cannot physically possess blood of a being that existed in the material world. They all come from outside it. So how do they have the blood of Adana? Second, all of them except for Deadeye either are a actual deity, a shard of a deity, or possess a primordial anchor of the world. So all six of those, aside from Deadeye, Deadeye's story is very strange on its own. They all exist outside of the material world, but also like Ranger, Witch, Wizard, and Sage are all actual deities. Like, they are minor gods. They are toe-to-toe with, like, Elion and Zarka. And then Archer and Seraph is different, but for a different reason. And then Archer and Scholar possess anchors of the primordial world. So they also are much stronger than all the other characters. And what's super important about that is, like, Musa, for example, as my beautiful mod here keeps pointing out, is just a guy. Like, not his lore, he's just a guy. That's it. That's all he is. He's just a dude. Lurking and working. Have an amazing work, Arch. I am also working. But my working is yapping about the lore. I love this. I love this job. And so this raises some very important questions. First, if these beings are shards of gods and they are primordial anchors of the world, but they are completely equal in story and interchangeable with Musa, who is just a guy, either they are not primordial beings and they do exist within the world and we are completely lied to, or these other beings that don't have those massive tied lores do have those massive tied lores, but they don't know it. They are reincarnations. They are beings that were blessed with that light, and they don't know it. That's why they're able to use the skills they are. That's why they're able to be so much stronger than even other beings. Like, even our Musa. Our player character, Musa, even compared to other Musas in the faction, is like a prodigy of a prodigy. They are still in a league of their own, but they're still a normal person. This raises the question, if all of these characters are equal in the story, either they all have to have either a shard of the primordial, or they have to have a reason to be existing like that. But they don't, at least not yet. As we've gotten more story tidbits and we've gotten more lore for the game and the overarching story, we learn a lot more. And what's super interesting is there's a comment from Elezra towards the end of Adania that her whole goal was not just to create a being that was strong enough, but was to create a being that lived in harmony with the Black Spirit. Now, it's important about that, at least in my eyes, is a being living in harmony with a literal essence of corruption, a primordial black corruption, can't just be a normal person and primordial corruption. It has to be primordial corruption and primordial light. Because that's how you would have to have harmony. You would have to have an equal strength to match it. You can't have light without dark. You can't have dark without light. They have to exist with each other. They are two sides of the same coin. And for me, that's the ultimate piece of point that there is much more going on to our character, right, than what we're originally told. Now, Seraph was just a person. Seraph was a normal person that would had experiments done on them. Ensalar's not a very good parent. And the reason why Seraph is the way she is because Seraph was directly infused with light of Elion, but also corruption of Hadum. What's super interesting about this is instead of like all of the other characters reaching the harmony later in their life as both pieces gained strength and balanced each other out, Seraph was instead infused with them at a young age, unable to correctly house them, creating what is the current Seraph, the dichotomy, either a being of light or a being of dark. She does not exist in a simultaneous state. She is one or the other. She is the failed experiment, the failed Adana. What's super important about that is over time, as you being the player character, you then break free from Elion and Hadum and instead find the new harmony in Sylvia and the Black Spirit. At least, again, in my interpretation of how the events have gone out. That's why you have the pre-awakening being what it is, possessing both versions of it, and then you have the awakening, which further goes into one part of your soul, into either the light or the dark. That's at least how I view it. Now, Deadeye is a problem in the lore for if it's directly just said as it is. Doink. Okay, I will sip some tea because my throat is actually killing me. Stretch. You gotta make me stand. It's crazy. Okay. Oh, stretch, it hurts. So, Deadeye is a problem to the story if something doesn't happen the way I mean, I don't know if any of you have gone to the Discord or anything, but whenever I did my big my model reveal on my birthday stream, I revealed the lore I wrote for myself. Me and my personal Deadeye, I wrote my own lore because there wasn't enough for Deadeye, so I wrote mine. Yeah, I know, it's a whole thing. But when I was writing it, I delved so deep into the story and all of the complex iterations of the game in order to try and get the most accurate lore I could. The problem with when I did that is I noticed that there were two major plot holes. First, when Deadeye gets wormholed and stolen by Marnie, the Ator's heart that he sends explodes. That whole train, because we do get, there is 2 frames of it, that entire area was completely wiped out. The train is, like, there's not like, oh, it was exploded. It's gone. Like, completely reduced to nothingness. There is just the scorch mark on the floor. Which begs the question. If all of it was completely destroyed, and our Deadeye was literally touching the heart when it did, how does she exist? The second lore issue is all of the beings possess either, as we know, the blood of Adana or light of Sylvia. Y'all are about to be put in an ad. I will pause. Okay. And so all beings that can rise to Adana can be a king's candidate have to either possess the blood of Adana, so they have to be a descendant of the guy, or they have to possess the quality that that makes them that. And we talked about possibly Sylvia's light. But the problem with that, as conceptually speaking, is Deadeye doesn't exist in the world. not only does she not exist in the world, she was not created by Sylvia. Sylvia is the primordial goddess of creation. All of the beings in BDO come from Sylvia. She created Elvia, she created the material world, and she created the third world. Deadeye comes from none of those. She comes from our world across dimensions. So how does Deadeye, how does Liv possess the quality to be a king of Adana, possess the quality to balance a black spirit, if they do not exist within the She's American. Yeah, America, USA, USA. No, but those are the two major plot holes. Is one, Deadeye's body was completely obliterated, and Deadeye exists beyond the rules of the world. So my theorizing over the course of going in depth to every piece of lore, every tidbit, every side quest, every teaser trailer, every piece of information they gave us for Deadeye. I know, I'm a nerd. I did a lot of studying. I've come to the conclusion. Now, keep in mind, unlike most of what we've talked about today, this is 100% my own theory. There isn't, like, hard set proof on this. Unlike a lot of the other theories, there's a lot more. But it is the only way I have found that can rectify the two plot holes and bring Deadeye into the same category. When she was being wormhole over, only her soul made it through the gate. Her body was completely destroyed, as we saw with the original video and the Ator's heart detonating and exploding everything. Only her got a port for Org? That's crazy. I can probably port you to Heidel. Heidel's pretty close. You can actually just take a well, Musa. What are you doing? But when her soul came over and entered into this world, a soul without a body couldn't exist. So we do know that Sylvia... I'm in Zeph? I guess, yeah, the well is too far. I mean, I can teleport you right here to this well and you can well over. You want that? Can take you right to Kama Sylvia as well. Okay, I have my compass. But Sylvia is still not completely dead. Her light exists in all things. When Deadeye was brought over, and Sylvia witnessed this soul existing outside of her bounds, outside of her rule, she took pity on it and completely remade her body. S1. Remade her body and infused it with light directly, making her equal to the other, more primordial characters that we have in the roster. Because Deadeye is one of the first beings that, again, exists. Deadeye is actually the first of the player characters that reaches an equilibrium with the Black Spirit. We reach equilibrium before our Awakening quest, before we even have access to it. The only other character that ever does that is Seraph. And Seraph has, as we went over, her own problems with that. Maybe her brother has the answer? Her brother is going to be even more complex and more lore problems, but we can get into that towards the end of this, because that story is messed up. Boop. Summoning a Muso. So, that's at least my theory on why our Deadeye exists the way she does. There has to be something else that happened to her before what happened, because she can't exist in this world without being connected to Sylvia in some way, and she can't become an equilibrium or a Dania candidate without access to blood of Adana, which is either the actual blood of that being, not possible, she never existed in that world, or the quality that is called the blood of Adana, and it's Sylvia's essence of some sort. So that's why Deadeye is really convoluted in the story, and why it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why she's able to do it, unless she was either given a grace directly from Sylvia, or Sylvia remade her body and infused it with her light directly, which is why Deadeye is able to reach equilibrium so much faster than other characters. Like, Deadeye, in her own story, reaches equilibrium before even Serendia's halfway through. For reference, story-wise, most characters don't reach an equilibrium until after they beat the Black Spirit in Medaya. And even then, they still don't reach 100% equilibrium yet. Whereas Deadeye does it so much earlier. We don't have a whole lot of reason to why. But that generally covers the Black Spirit's Adana and the differences between our Black Spirit, who is, for all intents and purposes, a little shit, but also something else entirely, and what we are, or what we possibly are. Now, the next thing I wanted to go over is the other contenders for Adana, the previous throne bearers. Now, these are important. I don't like this song. You know what? Hold on. Yeah. Thematic. Oh, you guys can't see because of my MS Paint. Well, actually, we'll minimize MS Paint for now, because we're not going to do any more horrible drawings at the moment. So we have 5 thrones of Adania, and these are 5 anchors to the world. They hold back Hudum directly. The barrier of the infestation of the barrier by Zarka and the weakening of the veil that protects this world is being held in place by these 5 castles. These anchor the barrier and keep it in place. Now, it's important, each one of these beings exists for a different reason. They were all candidates for Adana for a different reason, but they all failed. Not a single one of them was actually able to resist the corruption. They all still succumbed to it. Now we're going to go over each one separately. So first, we have Jordan, or Jordine. He is by far the weakest of the candidates, not just in, like, strength or when you can fight him, but in willpower. He succumbed to corruption before he even became an Adania candidate. He originally was possessed by an original spirit, an original being that was possessed by a black spirit and devolved completely into corruption. One of the original beings that showed us black spirits can have some sort of sentience, but not very good sentience. But during his questline, during our time, we end up breaking him free of that control, and he goes out to try and free himself from this corruption. That's why he goes after the Yinix Flame, believing that the Yinix Flame can burn the corruption from within and free him from it. It does not. What it does do is make him an Adana candidate. Now, what's super interesting about that is it kind of goes into what my theory of that the blood of Adana is not actually blood, but instead a quality or Sylvia's light. And y'all are about to get an ad, I will wait. Right. So it's super important about him only being an Adana candidate once he collects the flame of the Yinix flame. Is, as we talked about last week, the Yinix flame is directly a shard of Sylvia. It is her divine essence that allows it to do what it does. Now, when he collects said flame is when he becomes an Adonis candidate. He has the possession from the Black Spirit, And then when he collects a piece of Sylvia, a light of Sylvia, he becomes an Adana candidate. Then and only then is when he becomes one. So it raises the question, is the theory that the blood of Adana is not actually physically blood. You are no a descendant of Adana, but rather you possess two shards of creation, the shard of primordial goddess Sylvia and a shard of the original corruption, the darkness that spread from her creation. Now, we don't know if this is 100% fact. This is just my theory of watching the lore unfold and piecing together the little breadcrumb trail. I could be following the wrong breadcrumb trail. This is entirely possible. But it is super interesting that that is when he becomes a Adana candidate. Not when he breaks free of the Black Spirit's control. Because he breaks free of its control, and it's about 2 years of him journeying around, and he gains strength this entire time, controlling the power himself. Even beating us in strength at some points in the story, but only when he collects the Yinix Flame does he become a possible Adania seed. That is super, super interesting. The next Adana, we have Rolsolka, who, as we know, as a progenitor, an original species, she possesses a shard of Sylvia. She was an original creation of Sylvia. She existed before all other mermaids. She also gets possessed by a black spirit, a black stone that falls into the sea during the destruction of Sakraya, is when she becomes corrupted and then travels to Adana and becomes one of the castle holders. Once again, a being that has light and falls to corruption, becomes an Adana. It's very, very good storytelling, at least in my opinion, because it's consistent. Next up, we have Enslar, a being, the first Valkyrie, a being that was touched directly by Elian's light. And remember, as we learned, Elian is a shard of Sylvia. Elian possesses Sylvia's light. Enslar being directly infused with that light, becoming the first Valkyrie and using her entire light as that faith, she has Sylvia's light. Following that, when she learns of Elian's corruption by Hadum, she herself falls to the corruption of Hadum. And that's what makes her an Adana. She never gets infused with a black spirit. She never once touches a black stone. She directly touches Hadum's corruption, and that makes her a Adana. Now, this begs the question. If it doesn't have to be a black spirit, it just has to be a source of corruption, are the black spirits of the same essence Hadum is? I personally think this is the clearest example and the clearest proof that just because or this is my clearest proof that the black spirits are something related to or of Hadum directly, because Enslar becomes an Adana not through a black spirit, but through Hadum directly, which I think is really cool. Next, we have Karshan, a being that existed in corruption of herself. She corrupted herself by using dark magic and infusing black spirits into herself, becoming the Witch of Tariff, Deboreka. She has a few other names, but she doesn't become an Adania. She doesn't become a candidate for the throne until she has the child with Caphras, until she becomes in contact with Sylvia's light. She has the half-breed child that we know, Orwin, and that is when she becomes a king's candidate. Now, I mean, it's a little weird that she only becomes a king candidate when she has a child with an elf, and elves are, direct descendants of Sylvia, but again, direct descendants of Sylvia, and not just any direct descendant, Caphras, the first elf. The original creation of Sylvia, the first elf, predating the Gradir, the Grenell, and the Vidir. A being that is originally elf, directly touched by Sylvia, and has one of the strongest lights of Sylvia of any mortal being. Is what contact with him for an extended period of time, the family, the children, all of that, is what allows her to become a seat for Adania. Once again, she's been reincarnated multiple times. She would no longer have the blood of Adana because her most recent incarnation, she didn't have parents. She incarnated directly. how did she have the blood of Adana? But she doesn't until Caphras. So once again, this is kind of my why I have so strong of the feeling that the blood of Adana is actually possessing the light of Sylvia. Now we have Caphras, the original elf, the warden of Elvia, the being that led Hadum to destroy the fallen god, the being that held Hadum back for centuries, the immortal alchemist, and what's important, one of the beings that came and consumed black spirits. A being that directly went out to the seals and created his own sets of seals of the black spirits he consumed and deposited. That's super important. But even Caphras, directly created by Sylvia directly, made from scratch, a being directly in contact with the primordial light, still fell to Hadum's corruption. We have follow from Tapbox. I missed that one. I was in a train of thought. And then we got another one from Agent Smith. And then we also got one earlier from Ditto Fred. I missed that one. Did I miss another one? Oh, we also missed Nakamoto. Thank you as well. I missed all of those. Oh, Chilled Dude. Thank you as well. As I continue to yap about the lore. Now, what I find really interesting about that is Caphras fell to Hadum's corruption, and in my opinion, we got a
Who's a
prime sub.
good boy?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ooh.
What I think is interesting is we never learn that Caphras directly bound himself to a black spirit. We learn that he learned how to consume the essence of black spirits, but he broke them down into raw power. He didn't leave them as spirits when he did this. He also learned the secret of immortality. He did all of these things, but also Caphras did directly follow Hadum for a good chunk of his life. We got a follow from, oh god, Eric. Oh, Eric Onico? I think, if I read that wrong, I am sorry. I suck at reading. I'm really bad at it. It's not personal. I'm just bad at reading. But we don't know exactly what directly drove Caphras to fall to corruption, or that he still has fallen directly to corruption. Because at the end of his fight, he says, you can't win. If you can't win against me, what chance do you have against Hadum? Which begs the question, if he, like Lazar, is more of testing us and trying to make sure we're strong enough. All the other thrones fight us for challenging the throne. He fights us as a testament to try and see if we're strong enough. Which leads me to believe, at least, that he hasn't fully fallen to corruption yet. He just understands that he can't resist the corruption like we could. He doesn't exist in the same tier of being that we do. Again, that's more of my theory. But we also learn, I believe it is through a side quest about Caphras Cave. And in Caphras Cave, at the very bottom of it, there is a well called Caphras Seal. What's interesting is it is another Veltara seal. But it's not a Veltara seal made by Adana, it was made by Caphras directly, which is why it's substantially weaker, but it also houses no memory fragments. It only houses spirits. Y'all are about to be in an ad. I will wait. Now, what's important about Caphras Seal and the spirits it houses is none of them are complete spirits. They are all pieces or distorted versions. Which further goes into Caphras was trying his best. Hello, hello, hello. Viper, thank you for the follow. I was in an ad and I didn't see it. which begs the question that he was probably trying to bind himself to a black spirit and was slowly building up the tolerance and the ability to control them, but has so far been unsuccessful or was completely unsuccessful, which is why he instead gave up on that dream. Or it's possible that with I call it rebirth in the ancient stone chamber into the being we are, Elezra went and sought out Caphras and told him to stop because the Adana has been made. She directly went out and created the being able to resist the corruption, created the original or the new uh, defender. Now that mostly takes us up until what's going to be coming in Adania 2. We have, lore-wise, we went over the Pantheon of Gods. After the Pantheon of Gods, we went over the Black Spirit. The Black Spirit, the Adanas, what it means to be an Adana, and the possible reconciliation of why some of the characters, their original lore, they are so much stronger than others, but we're all equal in strength by the story. What that could possibly mean. Now, we'll go over briefly. I say briefly, but I'm not brief. What I think is going to be happening in Adania 2. Well, first and foremost, we got to cover what we've been told so far. First, we've been told Adania 2 is going to be the ending of Act 1. Now, if you haven't been paying attention up to the story up to this point, or you haven't been paying attention to all the reads, you're going to be like, what is Act 1, Strimmer? What does that mean? So, what it means is, generally speaking in games, your game story is going to be broken up into two categories. You will have acts and chapters. So, Act 1 will have, let's say, 10 chapters. And each chapter leads you along the story until Act 1's conclusion, which then progresses you either a ending of Act 1 or progression into Act 2 in a continuation of the overarching story plot. Or, generally speaking, it is the end of that story plot and the beginning of the next one, and there's no direct overarching story. Now, I believe BDO is going to follow the former instead of the latter. Act 1 is going to end with, and this is my theory, so before anyone goes, oh, you were wrong, or that's not going to happen, or what, this is my theory of what's coming based on what I know of the lore and the storytelling we've gotten up until this point. So Act 1, the ending of the chapter that we are currently in, the Adania chapter, is going to end with our confrontation with Hadum. Now, I personally believe that the confrontation with Hadum is going to fail. We will not be able to fully kill Hadum, but we will make Hadum retreat. And Hadum will retreat back into Olvia, and that will set up Act 2's story. We need to gain more strength. But how can we gain more strength if we are already a being of light and dark? And this will set up the second part of the world building that BDO set up a long, long time ago that I talked about in the Gods video, but hasn't really been brought up again. And that is the other primordial beings, the primordial anchors of BDO, which are the Leviathan tier creatures. So that is Libresca, the Mother of Earth. That would be the right now they're mostly all dragons, but we do have the fish. So we have over here in Aquilia's Eye, we have Khan, right? The big old fish. And we have Vel, another big, big fish. But both of those are children of the Mother of the Sea. We don't know who the Mother of the Sea is. So that's another primordial being, another being that exists before what else is there. Then over here in Land of the Morning Light 2, we have the Sovereign, the big old bird that's over in Mount Ashi. We have this bird, but the one that we see, the Golden Phoenix. That could be another like primordial being. It could be the Mother of Sky or the Father of Sky or whatever. Uh, we also still have, I think it might be talked about in War of the Roses. I'm not entirely positive just yet. But we have the being in the labyrinth, the other dragon. Uh, we have Nuver, the original parentage of Nuver, that could be another primordial. Like they set up, and don't forget, we still have this region where Ataraxian exists, but also, uh, if you look at this bridge, if you actually go here physically, you can see over here, there's an entire castle that you can witness over here. Now, what's interesting is this castle does lead into Ataraxian. This is the physical entrance to the civilization of Ataraxian, where the four orphans made the research that created what eventually became the first Adana. The ancient power sources, the consumption of blackstones, the binding of spirits, all happened here. This is where we're going in Act 2. If this is where we're going in Act 2, one of the lore tidbits of, I believe it is Sekmekia, or Sakrakia, is talking about the original primordial beings that exist outside of the divine. If we are unable to defeat Hadum and Adania 2, and we still need to gain strength, the only way we could do that is to very obviously go after other primordial beings and add their strength to our own. Either by consuming them the way Hadum or Alezra have, or by doing something differently as the player character. But that is my theory, is Act 1 ends with our confrontation with Hadum that ends in failure. Either Hadum beats us and we have to retreat, or we beat Hadum and Hadum has to retreat, but either way, neither side is killed, which means the overarching story plot of the threat of Hadum's corruption is not over. That'll lead us into Act 2, where we go after the primordial beings and try and add their strength to our own, becoming a much stronger being, and that is what allows us to challenge Hadum a second time. Because we have this continent that is split in two, we have the ancient civilization of Ataraxian, we have the civilization that is behind the Mountain of Eternal Winter, which is hinted at in a few lore tidbits as the Land of Dragons. That sounds really cool. Then we also have, I believe it is, all of this over here, which is, this is the civilization of Ataraxian, but we also have part of over here, which we can't visit. But what's interesting, there's not a lot of people know about this, there is a continent over here. There is another continent, so like how we have this continent, then we have Land of the Morning Light over here, we have Adania up here. There is a continent over here, known as the original homeland of the elves. This is where it is theorized that the third gate, so we know, we talked about in the thing, that there are three gates. We have the original Kim-Sylv gate, then we have the rift that is somewhere in Adraxia theorized when she retreated, but there are supposedly three Elvia gates. The theory is the third Elvian gate exists in this region, the birthplace of the elves. Because the elves did not originate in Camisylvia. They came to Camisylvia. And when they arrived in Camisylvia is when Sylvia touched down and made the Camisylv tree in Grana, the birthplace, in the capital of the elves. Grana was not built around the tree was put in Elvia, or in Grana. Y'all are in an ad. Yeah, it is talked about and believed that the city was built around the tree. No, the tree was formed around inside the city. So we have the continent of the elves over here that we still haven't gone to. We have these two continents back here, which are, massive, massive landmass. There's theorized that there is another landmass that is this direction We don't know if that's true or not. It's just theorized. Because there's a lore tidbit in one of the places you can interact with an NPC somewhere all along this region talks about they can see a landmass off in the distance, and you as a player can't see it. Nothing renders that far away, but who knows? But that is my theory for Adania 2. Is it's going to be not set up the same way that Adania 1 is set up with like each region is its own. You do the region up to a boss, then the next region up to a boss. It instead is going to be more like a military S campaign. You're going to challenge like quote unquote generals of Hadum as you try and figure out your way to open up the gateway towards the end of it, like over here-ish, to go enter Elvia directly instead of like Elvia Realm, and where you merge the Elvia, and then we are going to challenge Hadum directly in Elvia. It's not gonna go well for us, or it will go well for us, and Hadum has to retreat out of Elvia. I don't know which one it is. They could go either, but my theory is we're gonna go through the Elvian Gate and challenge her directly. However, the fight's gonna go, neither side gets a kill, and that opens up Act 2, where we then begin hunting down either more shards of Sylvia, which are the primordial beings, or we hunt down the primordial beings and they in fact aren't shards of Sylvia, but we don't know directly yet. The only primordial being we've actually interacted with so far is Labresca, who, for all intents and purposes, possessed a shard of Sylvia. Was that why she was a primordial being, or was she a primordial being that also possessed shards of Sylvia? We don't know. We know Sylvia created her because Sylvia created everything, but we don't know if, like, she was created to be primordial or she was created and then absorbed the shard. We don't know. But I think that is going to be what's coming in the ending of Act 1 and the beginning of Act 2 into Act 2's overarching story plot. Of course, I could be 100% wrong, and none of that happens, and it's something completely different. There's no real way to know what's going to happen or who it's going to be. This is what I've put together over learning all the lore and reading all the story and stuff, but I could be very, very, very incorrect. Who knows? But that roughly covers everything that you'll need to know for the Adania 2 teaser or trailer that should be coming with Heidelball, as well as what you should be what you should be expected to know going into the actual Adania 2 storyline to not be wholly confused, if you pay attention at all. Who knows? Now, does anyone have any questions about what I've covered so far, or about some other lore-related topic? As my throat is killing me. When will Musa buffs be coming? Well, I mean, conceptually speaking, if my theory is right, and our player characters are anyway for a gift of some mythical sensor since it's so hard to craft. Viper, good news is one right now with the Black Market event. If you talk to Patrigio, the Night Merchant, he can sell mythical sensors. I did in fact buy quite a few. I still have one of mine left. They're 2 bill a piece, which, I mean, it's a little expensive, I'm going to be honest, but I would rather spend 2 bill because it's an hour of grinding versus trying to get the materials. They're super, super expensive. Also, during all of the ball events that we get, Haida Ball, Calpheon Ball, what's considered console ball, they always do give out mythical sensors, so you should be getting them soon. Okay, any other questions? finish the Musa. If my theory is correct on Musa, or on player characters being having pieces of Sylvia, and stuff like that, then with Adonia 2 and Act 1's finish, we should see at least some sort of buff to the underperforming characters, at least lore-wise. And PA has been working very, very tirelessly to make sure all classes, at least in PvE, exist near the same tier. And with the finishing of AOS and they can collect all the data, there is going to be expected buffs or nerfs to characters that either underperformed or overperformed. So, possibly then. Next question is, isn't Sage technically a bit different too since he's a copy of the guy who made Ataraxian? Yes and no. We know very little about, one, what the Ataraxian children were, other than they were orphans that, for some reason, possessed power beyond their own, and were able to use the Black Spirits to create and control things much stronger than themselves. It's possible that the reason why the 4 orphans were what they are is because they all possessed, they were all beings of light possessing pieces of Sylvia, and that's what made them stronger. And that's the theory, because Sage is talked about to be divine and to be a god. If he is divine and he is a god, he has to be a shard of Sylvia. That's just how it works. You cannot be divine without being a part of Sylvia. She is the divine. Okay, no questions about lore. I just have a quick question for what should be more prudent after go after gear-wise. Would you upgrade armors towards Desperate first, or upgrade Hex Karazods for a new grind location? Will be expensive either way. So we talked about this, I think it was yesterday, about Karazad stuff. Remember, once you have Hex Karazods, do not upgrade them. Buy pen debos and convert them. Now, it may feel more expensive, like, oh, I have to spend 150 bill per upgrade. It's 150 bill for 3 AP, versus on average, if you go from Hex to Nav, on average of a good estimate, 230 bill for 3 AP. You're saving a lot of money. I don't know about you, but I don't think you have 90 bill to waste on upgrades. And then as armor-wise goes, Desperate is important. AP convert Debos to Karazods. Yeah. Realistically speaking, if you want to upgrade your AP, you keep your Hex, you buy Pen Debo, convert it into a Nav Karazad. That is a 3 AP upgrade, as well as, or in the case of the necklace, if you don't have your necklace yet, 6 AP upgrade for 150 bill versus 230 to 400 bill for upgrading them manually. Expensive. Very expensive. And then armor-wise, slowly upgrading them all, the way I recommend doing it, is get one, convert it to an Adonia piece, get the next, convert it to an Adonia piece, and do it that way, rather than try and level them all up separately. Okay. Do you think they're adding a bracelet to bring everyone's AP up another 5 AP to 400? Well, first I will give you the MMO answer. We're about to be finishing Act 1 and progressing towards Act 2. Add, that timing. Ooh. You could make me mad, Twitch. Okay, so I'll give you the MMO answer. We're finishing Act 1, and we're beginning Act 2. By all MMO standards, by all gameplay standards, we will be getting new gear. Now, whether that's a new item slot, or overall just new gear, is up to interpretation. Personally, based on where we are gear-wise, I don't see us getting new gear, because we just got all purple rank gear. They gave us purple armor, purple weapons, purple accessories. We also have purple artifacts. And then we just got the purple stone with being able to combine stones. So, all intensive purposes, Act 2 might give us the new rarity of gear. And that was when we might get... But there's still... But orange gear... Okay. Do you mean orange gear as an upgrade above red gear? Or... Yeah, the next color. So, that's what I'm thinking Act 2 is going to be. Act 2 will most likely be the next actual quality tier of gear. Yeah, Guru grade. Yeah. But they're not going to do that at the end of Act 1. That will be the beginning of Act 2, and most likely, if they do follow my idea, or like, let's say my idea is right, and we actually are going to collect even more power, collecting the primordial powers and stuff, that's the Guru tier gear. Each of the various bosses we get gives us a quality of gear improvement. So for Act 1's end, for Adonia 2, the gear upgrade we're getting there, because we are going to be getting a gear upgrade, I don't think it's going to be a quality improvement, because that wouldn't make sense MMO-wise. And lore-wise, it also wouldn't really make sense, because all of our current gear has direct lore tied to where we are in the story. So, the only thing I could see happening is we either get an insignia that gives stats, because at the current moment the insignia slot is relatively useless aside from the very rare event ones we get. Succession, Doshin, AOS. I will get to gameplay questions in just a second. Let me finish answering this. We either will get an insignia that gives us stats, and the insignia will be like Elezra's insignia or Sylvia's insignia, and it's their divine branding that shows that we are the champion of the goddess, and that has the raw stats on it, allowing us to directly fight Hadum. Or we will be getting, as you can see in the gear page, we got 2 slots. There are 2 gear slots necessarily in our gear page, and the current UI for technically 3 slots, because there could be the one below the life skill one. So they could move the insignia all the way over here below your life skill gear slot, and then we have 3 slots. Now, what could go in the... Why did my song skip? Who has control over my songs? No one used the command. That's so weird. Nightbot, why are you like this? So, what do I think that the gear pieces could be? What, if there's 1, 2, or 3? I personally think there's going to be 2, not 3. Warframe said, yeah, honestly. They said no League of Legends, it's Warframe time. It is TennoCon, so we vibe. I think it'll be 2 gear, not 3, honestly. I will think we will get a defensive and offensive one. That's usually how they do stuff like this. We get both a defensive and offensive upgrade at roughly the same time. When we got the Adonia armors, we also got the Adonia crystals, and Herald's crystals gave us an offensive and defensive buff at the same time. So I think they're going to do the same thing. Now, what could those gear pieces be? So, lore-wise... I'm trying to think of if there's any direct lore tie that we could have that it would be. Black Spirit slot? Yeah, I mean, the core, a core slot, infused directly into our soul. That could definitely be something. It fits with the thematic pattern that we have as an Adana, fits with the thematic pattern going forward, something we can slot directly onto us, infuse into our body itself. What else? I think the core will most likely be the offensive option. Something to directly empower the power of our soul itself that gives us more attacking power. Maybe it has stats like Black Spirit Regenerate, something like, that will be something. And then the second slot for a more defensive option, like we have the Alchemy Stone, which infuses us with the power of Caphras' alchemy, but there are other beings that invented something similar with, it could be like the barrier slot, and that gives us our defensive thing. It mitigates things before it even touches us. It's like a shield in like other games. That's also, like a little trinket we could wear on our belt, and it would be the barrier slot. And it incorporates the power of the first king of Adonia, who created the barriers that created the Valtara seals, the first king of Adonia, stuff like that. So I think there's probably going to be 2 gear slots added, is my personal theory. Marnie gives us a slot. Yeah. You have Marnie who does stuff like that too. I think there's going to be 2, something we infuse directly into us, and something we wear. And those are going to be 2 slots, the offensive and defensive upgrades. I think stat-wise, the offensive upgrade will have sheet stats and hidden stats, and the defensive upgrade will just have hidden stats. Because right now our DP sheet-wise is much higher than our AP, so I don't see them raising the DP sheet. I do see them raising the AP sheet, and then giving us hidden stats on top of that, but the defensive one, I think, will only give us hidden stats. Now, the next question was, what do I think of Suck Dosa in AOS? It is one of the higher tier classes, in my opinion, at least on console. It does struggle for one very specific reason, is that it doesn't have a grab. In AOS, generally speaking, without a grab, you're going to struggle a lot in AOS. It's just how it is. But it does have very, very good protections, very, very good CCs, and above average damage. So for all intents and purposes, it's a strong class, but without a grab, it does struggle behind a lot of the other classes, and it doesn't quite have the same amount of damage or iframes as, let's say, Sork does, who is a very dominant AOS class, or Kuno, who's another very dominant AOS class. So I do think it's in, let's say, lower, or like middle of A for AOS. It can't get into the higher A or the S tier because no grab doesn't have as much damage. What do you guys will think when we get reward-wise for the ball? Well, I mean, if you're talking about like story drops and stuff, I would just went over that. But if you're talking about like rewards, I see them doing mythical sensors. I see them doing. I see 5 mythical sensors and crons, definitely crons. The reason why I say 5 mythical sensors is 1 for each castle. BDO has been doing a lot of sets of 5s for the past, like, 6 events. So I see the mystical sensors being sets of 5. And then cron-wise. Well, I think it ultimately, cron-wise, depends on if we're getting a good chunk of crons or if we're getting a big chunk of hammers. Because I think it's going to be more like 50,000 crons, but like 10 or 15 hammers. Is what I think. I could be wrong, of course, but I think we're gonna get more hammers than we are crons at this point in the reward. Maybe another way to get thunder traces. I could see them giving away some like just like thunder traces on their own too to try and get people to get Voltarian, especially and y'all are an ad. Use ads, man. Okay. 50k I get 1 week for grinding. Yeah, well, remember, a lot of people forget this. The rewards are designed for all players. If you think about it, let's say you're relatively new to the game and they give you 100,000 crons. You will skip a majority of the actual progression to the game, where 100k crons for a very endgame player isn't a whole lot that much. But hammers are a massive boon to older players without being incredibly overtuned for newer players. That's why I personally think there's going to be more hammers than usual, but less raw crons than usual, especially with the amount of crons they've been giving out. To me, it feels like their goal was to get everyone up to the point where hammers are the better option, and allow hammers to be able to get people up to the final gear for Adonia 2 rather than crons, because so many more crons just jumps all the new players and then they're kind of stuck. Because if, let's say, a new player goes from 730 all the way up to like 810 with all the crons, once they hit 810, they're kind of SOL because now the upgrades are so much more expensive and they don't have another stimulus hammer. I could see that too. This is why I held on to almost 80k crons before I figured out how to use them and what their value is. Yeah. Crons are strange little dudes. But I do think the rewards are going to be more focused on raw items rather than stacked items. So like hammers, mythical sensors, maybe even an actual like another horse giveaway. Maybe even a brand new item that has like its own crazy stat, like a new type of hammer. That'd be crazy. Like Elezra's hammer. Fuck, it guarantees a certain item up to like a certain level. So like it guarantees any tap aside from a deck tap or something. Heard the rumor of a cron price hike. Your take? If they were ever to do a increase in cron price, first there would be announcements beforehand. 2, there would be much more going on than poorly photoshopped rumors. If they actually were increasing the cron price, PA would be very clear about it. They wouldn't just randomly do it. And also, if they were going to be introducing cron price hike in the Heidel Ball, there wouldn't be hard set data mineable stuff for it yet. Same reason, like, every time they introduce a class, there's barely any data for the class. Because it's really, really hard to data mine any of those details because they don't put them in the game until right before to prevent this stuff from happening. People have spread rumors about a cron price increase for the past 4 years. I don't see them doing it because it doesn't help their game. If they raise the price of crons in the blacksmith, it doesn't make people buy more outfits. It doesn't help the player base. And permanent flute. Yeah, I mean, with the permanent flutes or horns, I could see them giving another one of those away. The problem with them, and why I don't see them doing that, is they implemented a item that prevents the need for it, because it's an item you can move between characters that allows you to essentially have a flute all the time. So I should dismiss it as capped then. Generally speaking, anything like that would drastically change actual gameplay of the game, unless your source is PA themselves, or it is already out, and someone can give you proof, or you can go look at the proof, do not believe it. And that's my best advice. They need to fix performance before they do more content, no joke. Now, this, take what I say with a grain of salt. So I, for a long time before I got as sick as I was, or as I am now, what item is that to move the horn or flute? No. So it's not allow you to move the horn or flute. It is the Krogdalo's Sanctuary, which allows you to put your horses into an item and then carry that item in your backpack. So you can call and pull in your horse right there. So generally speaking, it solves the need of a flute or a horn, because you're done with your horse, you put it in your pocket, and then you go. You get a horse pocket. It's pretty cool. But I do understand that a lot of players aren't going to get the Krogdala Sanctuary, because it does require all 3 T10 horses, which is a hard task, but there is the free quest for the horn, but it does require you to have a flute. and the flute's kind of expensive. They do give flutes out kind of often, so who knows what the ball's gonna hold. But on to the performance issue. Yeah, you have to manually move between characters. It can't be... None of the treasure items can be mated, which is annoying. But there is actually a secret to being able to move treasure items with maids. Is maids can put them into the storage of the region you're in. So a little secret is if your guild has a guild manor, you can go into the guild manor, maid the item from the manor into that town's storage, swap to the new character, manor, pull it onto that character, and then you go back, and now, no matter where you are, you now have your treasure item. And it's a little secret, little sneaky that I came up with in my nonsensical testing of various bounds of this game to see if I can find bugs. But performance issues on PS5, I keep getting sidetracked. I will say that a good majority of the performance issues BDO suffers for PS5 is not PlayStation issues. No, yeah, I can go over that in just a second. Don't worry. Is not on PA. So the issues that PS5 faces are not on PA's side. It is on Sony's side. Now, PA does try their best to try and make it better on PlayStation, but the specific issues are with Sony's internal operating system and how it runs the Black Space engine, the engine that BDO runs on. There is a conflict because Sony has its own asinine rules about how engines have to operate or be coded, and that causes a lot of issues. This is witnessable on a lot of other titles that use very unique engines like BDO does. Now, I won't say like PA has no fault in the matter because there are some things they could do to help fix the performance, but coding a game, especially a massive multiplayer game like BDO, especially how big it is, how many players it has, Destiny is another one. Destiny doesn't use necessarily a unique engine, but it does have similar issues. Now, I won't give PA a 100% pass, because there are things they could fix, that they do try and fix, but do keep in mind the thing about coding is, let's say there's a bug that whenever you climb a ladder, your armor unequips, right? That's a terrible bug. They need to fix that. So they go in, and they fix that. But remember, code is alive, and evil, and hates you. So you then go, and you fix the ladder bug, and so now when you climb a ladder, your armor no longer unequips. But unbeknownst to you, when you fix that bug, a new bug forms, and now that bug, let's say when you fall and hit the ground on your horse and your horse dies, you lose 100,000 silver. And so, even though they did fix the original bug, they can't put out the patch that would correct it because the other bug is a bigger problem. This is what happens a lot with bugs. People are like, oh, this bug has been around for 2 months, 3 months. Why hasn't PA fixed it? They're so lazy. No, guys. Understand that it is not just patch that hole and job's done, put it out. They then have to make sure that that hole didn't cause a new hole somewhere else that's leaking way more water. So, do keep in mind that they are also people at the end of the day. Give them a little bit of grace. They are trying their best. They're trying to fix the things without making it so much worse for everyone else. I had a bug where I fell down from this dragon statue and I perpetually until I escaped. Yeah, no, the permafalls are terrifying. Alrighty, we are in an ad. I shall wait. Yes, exactly. Like you fix your car and your pump shows up. You replace the radiator, the water pump goes bad. You replace the water pump, the belt needs replacing. You replace the belt, and then the drive shaft cracked. Like, it's a never-ending problem. And not enough people really do understand that just because they know about the bug and they are trying to fix it, that means they can fix it. Because remember, not every bug is solvable. That's another thing people don't keep in contact. Because people don't really take time to think about. Computers are just sand we melted, put lightning inside of, and tricked into thinking. None of this makes any sense. It's weird. From the ground up, it's weird, and nothing makes sense. So, remember, when developers or game devs, the GMs, the CMs, when they're talking, remember to have a little grace. They are people too. They exist outside of PA. And they are doing what they can to try and help us, to try and tell us what's going on, but it's not always possible. So does anyone else have any questions either about the lore or various other weird gameplay mechanics? But before I answer any of those, let me go ahead and scroll back up because I think, yeah, Tat. So, treasure items cannot be moved via maid. We all know this. You can't, like, throw this per character. But what you can do is maids can be used, or at least they used to. They might have patched it, but maids can be used to put them in the storage of the area you're in. See? I can use my maid to put my compass into my Grana storage, even though you shouldn't be able to use the maid for Grana, right? You can't use the compass. Where did my compass go? Am I blind? Did I put it in my mount inventory? No. Okay, am I blind, guys, or is there no compass in here anymore? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm blind. Suzie? Yes, you're blind, unfortunately. Yeah, Thank you, guys. Don't forget, everyone. I am, in fact, partially blind. My eyes suck. But see, I wasn't at the storage keeper, but I'm able to use maids to put it into the storage of the region I'm in. So what you can do is I'll actually show this off. So we're going to hop off Ryu. We're going to go. Well, hello. So guild, if your guild has a guild manor. Can I guild manor teleport, right? So there's a little secret I found, a little sneaky, a little bypassing some like some rules. Oh, no guild manor has been set. Okay, well I can't actually show it off right now, but if you have a guild manor, what you can do is you teleport to guild manor, right? So when you get to the guild manor, you can then take it. So most guild manors have it as like the Heidel Blue Lion estate. So you teleport to guild manor, it takes you here. From here, you're in Heidel's arena. So you can move it with the compass or whatever treasure item you want. You can move it into Heidel's storage. Now, you then go onto the other character, you teleport to Guild Manor, you then take it out of Heidel storage with your maid, because you're still in the region, and then you leave Guild Manor, and now you have moved the compass from, let's say you were grinding at Darkseekers, you've moved the compass from Darkseeker's character over to Edonia character with your maids, despite the fact that you generally shouldn't be able to do that, because you didn't use the maids, you used the storage region. That's how you would do it. So you could do the same, I believe, with Krogdala Sanctuary, I believe with like all of the various treasure items you can use. That is how they work. Now, I do have, if anyone has any other questions, did I miss any questions? No, okay. What do you have for your main character? Deadeye! I've played Deadeye since it was in the closed PTS on PC. I did get to go play that. Oh, it was so fun. I then played it on PC until it came out on console, and I've played it on console ever since. Before Deadeye, I was a Ranger for 9 years. I have only played Ranger and Deadeye. That is all I've played. And then also, thank you. Ooh, that's a mess of letters. Madam Flutterby, I think. Krogdala Sanctuary and Family Inventory? I don't think you can Krogdala Sanctuary and Family Inventory, but you can do the way I said, which is Guild Manor. Guild Manor made the item into the Heidel storage. New character, Guild Manor, pull it from Heidel storage, leave Guild Manor. We'll have to go play our guild bosses. Y'all have an amazing evening. You too! Have a wonderful rest of your night. Yes, I don't believe you can put it in the family inventory, but you should be able to move it because that's how other treasure items can be moved between characters. Now, I do have one thing to show off that I have spent a very long time trying to get, and I am so excited. As my beautiful companion follows me around. I am on a sweat, right? Yeah. That's right. I got my Crocodile Sanctuary. Now, I don't believe it can be moved, but let us find out real quick. Yeah, no, it can't. Yeah, it cannot be put in family inventory, like I thought. Now, where do I put this? I know. Okay, so I need to put you with you. Shad. Who do you think Ryu is? Ryu is by horse. I've been training them since I got it last night. I do need to go put them in my Pokeball now. But we need to organize the inventory. Actually, we're gonna move that there. Now Musa needs one. I've given up riding horses. I keep getting them killed. The great part about the mythical and higher tier horses is a lot of the things that can kill your horses stop being a problem. So fall damage doesn't affect the Dine or the Peggy. The Dine can't drown. It'll sit on top of water. And you're in a Dine you can't even see. So the Dine and the Peggy are immune to fall damage. The Dine can't drown. So things that kill them generally become a lot less of a problem as you get more of the mythical horses. As you get the mythicals, the problem stops really being a problem. Yes, my horsies. And then we need to throw on... What slot do I throw it in? I'm only level 38. Well, welcome to the game. You chose very mythical Camel Wen. Nah, I want mythical Ellie. Give me Dumbo. Give me Ellie that can fly. It's gotta go over mount information. Well, aren't you the crazy horse? We got Crocodile Sanctuary. We got Crocodile. Now, before we go, because this is 2 hours. This is the end of the stream. I do have an amazing announcement for everybody. We have another giveaway. We got some more codes because Ash the goat did give us. Oh, that paused the music. Don't like that, but it's okay. Nightbot tip. Yeah, sure. Hold on. Keyword. There it is. Eh. Alrighty, we do have another giveaway. Type exclamation Adana in chat if you want to enter the giveaway for the coupon codes. Exclamation Adana. How many codes do I have? Hold on. Let me. Where'mst? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10! 10 to give away! Now, I will say, I don't know if you've won in the past, this code might not work for you a second time. Usually it is one per, like, event, stuff like this. But if you do win a second time and you have a friend that you want to give the code to, you can do that. If you have an enemy you want to give the code to and be like, haha, I got a code and I'm giving it to you because I'm better than you. I mean, you can. It'd be a little weird, but you can. I won't judge. So go ahead and exclamation Adana will do this for a few seconds while I set up my notepad for writing down these codes because I will forget to do this. Notepad. And if you do win, please let me know how you'd like the code sent to you. I can do it in Twitch DM. I can do it in Discord DM. I can send it to you in-game. I don't recommend in-game because it relies on me spelling it correctly. Good luck with that. Honestly speaking, good luck. I suck at spelling, so you are running the risk of me spelling it horribly wrong and you not getting your code. Alrighty, so we have a chunk of winners. So we have 10 codes and 8 people entered. So we'll everyone gets a code and then these 2 winners will get a second code. Cause you know what? Why not? So everyone that typed exclamation Adana, don't worry, you will get a code. And then everyone. No. If you want to enter Tomato, go ahead. You still have time. Exclamation Adana, Tomato. Exclamation Adana. I haven't done anything yet. Because I still have to write down all of these names. And I'm a be real with y'all, I suck at spelling. Viper, you have entered. You're good. Tomato. Hold on, I need to balance these so I can see it. No, don't. No, bad Windows. Thank you. Sometimes Windows is annoying. Hang on. The awkward silence is crazy as I try and type this. Chat. Madam. Alrighty, I got all the names written down, and it appears we have 10 people that did Adana and 10 codes to give away. Would you look at that? How lovely that works out. Alrighty, let us see who had the actual RNG though. Let us see who would have won. It's none other than Aeon. Absolutely hilarious. Aeon has the best RNG. Aeon the goat. How do I find you? Okay, so let me know in chat right now. Anyone that typed exclamation Adana, so literally all of you, let me know. Do you want a Discord DM or a Twitch whisper for your coupon code? Let me know, because I can do either. Shad wants a Discord. Okay, Shad, I can give you a Discord. Let me put my music back on so this awkward silence goes away. Aeon also wants a Discord. Okay. Aeon Discord. Smoothie wants Twitch Whisper. Okay. Twitch. Madam wants a Twitch Whisper. Okay. Sam wants a Twitch Whisper. Viper wants a Twitch Whisper. A name I can't pronounce because I suck at reading wants a Twitch Whisper. Alrighty, Nevitz and Kilo, how do you guys want your codes? And Tomato, you also need one. Kilo wants a Twitch Whisper. Tomato! Nevitz wants Twitch. Perfect. And Tomato also wants Twitch. Thank you, guys. As always, the Discord messages will be later. The Twitch messages will be now. Bear with me while I do this. Stream might get a little choppy, but I can't do Twitch Whispers directly through OBS because OBS hates me, so I have to do it through my browser, and it always gets a little quirky because my PC is not the strongest. He tries his best. But I am a very broke peach, so my PC is not very strong. And upgrading it is expensive. Okay. Alrighty, Kilo, you either need to whisper me first, change off your block whispers from stranger settings, or if you don't want to do either of those, you can quickly follow me and then unfollow me, and that will allow me to whisper you after I send the code. If you want to unfollow, you can do that as well. But you need to do one of those things before I can send you a whisper. And you worded out, you didn't even hear me! Kilo, you either need to whisper me first, turn off your block whispers from strangers setting in Twitch, or if you want to follow me, I can send you the whisper and then you can unfollow me right after if that is your choice. But you need to do one of those things so I can send you this whisper. As I scroll through Viper. Oh my goodness, Tomato, thank you for this sub. That is so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You did not have to do that. And then Whisper was
Oh, who's a good boy?
reopen my whispers with Kilo. Yep, there we go. Okay, let me go ahead and send some of these out. To, whoop. Tomato, code sent. Nevitz. Code sent. Ari, Ari, your code is being sent. Oh, let me mark these off so I remember which ones I've done. And then I also sent. Who did I say? Nevitz. That was the second one. Next will be Ari. Code sent Viper. Code sent Sam. Code sent Kilo. Code sent. Discord. Madam, I haven't done madams yet. Where'mst? Madam Whisper. I also will need to do smoothie. Okay, Madam. Madam, there is your code. Enjoy. That new player experience is honestly, this is the best time ever to be a new player. And smoothie, last time I whispered you was a different code giveaway for a different event. Aren't you just a lucky duck? There is your new code, smoothie. So all that I have left is Aeon and Shad, which will be Discord for later. Perfect. Let me go ahead and close out my browser so my stream restabilizes. Super lucky. Okay, what did I miss? Tom saying no problem, dude. It's thank you. Honestly speaking, absolutely amazing. Aeon, no, if only RNG with taps was as good, right? You doing more stories? I will say that this is the end of the official Olvia Academy or Olvia Summer Camp lore stream stuff. So anything after this is no longer official sponsored stream. Now I am still an official partner. I am still partnered with BDO. I still absolutely adore them, but it is no longer the official stream. It is now peachy shenanigan hours. So let me go ahead and make a stream marker real quick to show that this is the end. Where's my button? Stream marker. So now whenever the VOD and stuff will have a marker for by the end of like the hard set stream. When you on next, I try and stream every day that I physically can. Now I will say that because I am not healthy. I am very, very sick. I very rarely can stream every single day. Gotta find the code now. It should just be in your Twitch whispers. So when you open up Twitch on a browser or on your phone, there should be a little like chat message box. I click that, that'll have the code. You can just copy that and paste. Don't feel bad, don't feel bad. I do try and stream as much as I can, but I am rather sick, so it is inconsistent at best how often I can actually stream for you guys. I do try my best. How about Peachy lore? I mean, if you I do still have the. Do I still actually hold on? I still do have the audio file. if you guys do want to listen to the lore I wrote for my Deadeye and my no, don't worry, Ari. The lore I wrote, the story I wrote, I still do have that audio file. I can play it for you guys if you guys do want to hear it. It is not official by any means. It is entirely what I wrote for myself, incorporating parts of my own life into my lore and story of the Deadeye. If you guys want to hear that, I can of course play it for you guys. But I'll leave that up to you. I made it a whole video, a whole thing. Like I went above for that because I'm a little crazy. I want to know about the tears. Oh, the running mascara. Uh, it's just a look that I've always kind of liked. It's always just kind of tickled my brain a little bit, so I just have my characters have it. There's no like direct lore. It's just a personal preference. I like the way it looks, and so I have it. I believe it is on 8? Nope. 9? Nah, 9. I can take them off. But I like them. There's no like direct lore to it. It's just how I like. It's just what I like. Yeah, the running mascara has just always been like a look that just hits my brain and like away. Yeah, I know. It's not as like cool or in depth as a lot of the stuff I have, like the way I have my camera zoom or stuff like that. It's just I like it. I have thought about doing that, honestly speaking, because it does tie directly into the lore that I wrote for myself and stuff like that. Uh, but nope. The running mascara is just me. It's just a bit I like. I have thought about adding it. Yeah, I have thought about adding the corruption into the character, making parts of the veins slowly spread black over my character model and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously can't do it in game, but I could definitely do it on my VTuber model or an art that I have later on. And I have thought about doing that. Um, there is a little bit that you can see occasionally, here and there on my character, but no, the mascara is just a style choice. Just like the glasses, I need glasses in real life, so my character has glasses. That's it. It's not as in depth as you might think with how much I've written about other lore in my character. Read this when you get the chance. Yeah. It's honestly with me, it's a very fair question because I've put so much work in lore. I've even named my my weapons. All right, Miss Deadeye. Yes. What can I do for you? Like I named all of my weapons on Deadeye, so it is a very fair question, Aeon. It's just for once, there's no meaning. I just like it. I am a Deadeye main as well. Okay, ads are over. Nothing, Miss Thing. I am a Deadeye main as well. See. You are a Deadeye. I am the Deadeye. Okay, that aside, do you think her brother will be a fun class? Honestly speaking, We don't know a whole lot about Deadeye's brother. We know a good chunk about him lore-wise, but nothing about him class-wise. And the reason I say that is people will be like, oh, but what about this or what about that? We have gotten over the course of the talks about Deadeye's brother, we've gotten 4 teasers about him. And all 4 showed vastly different classes than the others. So we know very, very little about him because every single lore that has been revealed, or every single teaser that's been released about him has been deleted. Not just hidden, but deleted. So we don't know if those are true, if those are just snippets. We know nothing. Because all 4 have been vastly different and all 4 have been deleted. Aside from the most recent one, which just has a larger revolver than Deadeye's on a table. That's the only one that hasn't been deleted yet. So we know very, very little. Now, when we go into speculation about classes, we have to look at the past and how classes have worked. So we have male and female counterparts for quite a few classes. Witch, Wizard, Archer, Ranger, Mystic, Striker, Hash and Corsair are considered opposites. Zerker and Shy were opposites, which I still find hilarious. But now it's more considered Zerker and Guardian. Who else do we have? Dosa and the Twins. So we do have some like rough bearing on how it generally works. And more often than not, now this is my own kind of personal opinion, but the numbers kind of back it up. Male classes of their female counterparts, so the male versions of female characters, generally speaking, are better, statistically speaking, classes, and are more often than not considered more fun classes. Now, this is not always true, and the fun aspect goes more into player preference more than anything else, but generally speaking, people prefer a stronger class over a weaker class, so they have more fun with the stronger class than the weaker class, and more often than not, the male classes are, generally speaking, statistically outright better than their female counterparts. Now, I don't necessarily think that's exactly how Deadeye is going to be, because Deadeye, currently speaking, is very, very strong in PvE. They just buffed her to incredibly high heights. One of the best PvE characters in the game right now. And PvP, they just nerfed her pretty heavily, multiple times, to the point in PvP, she is good, but has very, very clear and defined weaknesses, putting her in the lower sets of A tiers into the higher of the B tiers, because she has a lot of weaknesses and a lot of direct counters that other characters don't have. Now, it's very, very possible that Deadeye's brother, the new class coming out, could be a gunner class. It's going to be most of those bus gunners. No. So, the most recent patch that quote-unquote nerfed Deadeye, she is still higher in the current patch, with after the most recent nerf, quote-unquote, than she was on release in PvE. So current Deadeye is stronger than the version of Deadeye that got nerfed into the ground. So do keep that in mind. Current Deadeye is stronger than she has ever been. She got over-buffed by such a large margin they had to turn it back down. And even after turning it back down, she's still one of the strongest classes in the game for PvE. So do keep that in mind. Man, my throat hurts. Mega got overbuffed? Yeah, a lot of classes got overbuffed, and so they toned them back down. But with Deadeye's brother, if he releases as a gunner, a class that uses guns and stuff, I do specifically see him as a direct upgrade over Deadeye. Just conceptually speaking. Because, one, I do not see him having Marnie rounds. And Marnie rounds are just... I love them conceptually. The work that put into them, the visuals, the lore, all of that. I absolutely adore it. Mechanically, they are terrible. Incredibly bad. Very, very poorly executed mechanic. Overall, not healthy for the class. Everything else about it I love. I love. But speaking on just pure, the round swapping mechanic. splitting the class's core mechanics into either good damage or good AoE is just bad. Most classes don't have to choose between them. The class just is one or the other. So it's a whole separate argument, but Deadeye's brother, if he's a gunner, most likely will not have round swapping as a mechanic, or if they do, it will be more for cooldown resetting, or it'll be more like a reload mechanic rather than a round swapping mechanic. Like, you can reload and use the same skill a second time, because most Deadeye skills you reload after each shot. There's, that visual thing, and so the reload could be like that. So there's a whole thing. And if he's not a gunner and we get more on the lines of the Centurion or Corrupted class that we got teasers for, I see him being a very, very fun class. Centurions, speaking in like the history and how games have interpreted them, have been fan favorites always. And in BDO, a disruptor class for PvP will be insanely fun to play and abysmal to play against, and people will love that. Now, do I think it's going to be a gunner or a Centurion? I have no idea. We don't know enough about his lore, we don't know enough about the teasers, we've gotten no details. I have no idea what he's going to be. There's no real telling. He could be a Centurion that has the, like, gun as his, like, range skills, kind of like how Zerk is. How he is the melee ranged hybrid. That's very possible. We don't know. But I do think, generally speaking, with how classes have been releasing, people are going to find him very, very fun. People are going to like him a lot. And I do think he's going to release rather strong. If we have anything to go by, the past, 8 class releases have released incredibly, incredibly strong. Aside from Scholar, who released rather weak. Then got buffed to really, really, really strong, and people didn't think they got buffed to really, really strong, even though they very, very much did. That's just kind of my opinions on it. But before I do close out the stream, because that is the end of my stream, I have no siege to go to. I'm rather tired, and my throat is killing me. Do you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can redeem the code? No, the code should be redeemable right away. Nevitz, it did look like you won one already, at least you won one on Tuesday, which means you most likely will not be able to enter this code again, but you can give that code to any one of your friends. Friends, guildies, anything like that, if you want to give the code away, you more than welcome to. Most of the event codes like this, generally speaking, are 1 per account. It was a different code? Yeah. So, it'll be different codes, but, it's this event code. So, the Olvia Summer Camp code, Olvia Summer Camp rewards, whatever they are, all the codes give those rewards. You can only redeem one of the codes for that reward. Is generally how the events like this work. So, if it was the code from Tuesday, and it was the Olvia Summer Camp code, like you won it on Tuesday, you won't be able to enter this one as well, because it's 1 per family, but you will be able to give that code to someone else. Last one didn't go through either. Okay, well, that's actually rather interesting, because that means your code might have been broken. So let me go ahead and record both of those codes. Let me send them over and double check, just to make sure before I do any of that. And you're about to be put in an ad. Free. Okay. So, Nevitz, let me ask real quick. You are, in fact, a console account, yes? Because these codes only work for console, and they might only work for NA console. I'm not positive. I might have to ask about that. Is Ash in here? Ash, are the codes only NA? Or can the other regions use them too? If you're listening. Yeah, let me see if I can add. Yes. If your code's not working, you are in fact console NA. That means the codes might be broken. Oh, question. Did you watch any of the other Olvia summer camp streams? Because I believe we all have the exact same rewards, so all of our codes across all the other content creators, we all share the same one per account rules. That might be the issue. No, just yours. Okay, so if your code didn't work, let me go ahead and record them real quick. Let me go head up Ash. Nevitz. Alright, I went ahead and filed that for you. Put in either. You can do either. Either will work. Yeah, all codes from creators work one per. Yeah, of course. That's usually how it goes. All the events we share rewards. If you did get a code and you already got one from someone else, you can of course give that code to one of your friends, one of your guild members, a random Joe on the street. You can put a code. I try on PS5 and it's not working. Has nobody's codes worked? Do none of my codes work? Hey. Sam's code worked. Okay, so you're EU. I wonder. Nevitz, are you also EU? Because I wonder if it's EUs that aren't working. That might be really toxic if that's the case. But it should work no matter what. But Nevitz, what region are you? Just so I can make sure. I'm on the East Coast. Okay, so that's NA. Huh. Yeah, so if your codes aren't working, that might just be the code's corrupted. But make sure you are putting them in correctly because they are a little convoluted. Hello. Promote C content. C content's amazing. I wish I did any of it. Cannot be used multiple times. Now that's interesting. Because that's a brand new code that didn't work. I'm trying to figure this out for you guys. Apparently, stuff's been going wrong. And... Yeah, make sure the letters are correct. Hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to say hi. Sorry, I'm not paying attention too much to I'm trying to figure out why people's codes aren't working. I want everyone's codes to work. And I'm a little distracted trying to figure this out. Yeah, you specifically, Ari, the last letter of your code should be a 0. Yeah, your last letter should be your last character, I say, should be a 0, not an O. That's the only one that might trip you up. My stream schedule is whenever I am physically able to stream. I am really sick, so it's a little inconsistent, but it should be. If I'm feeling okay, it'll be every day for Node War. So 7:40 CST to around 10 CST. Every day, if I can. But it's a little inconsistent. Alrighty, Ari, if your code isn't working, I'll go ahead and record that as well. But if you wouldn't mind, just check that you are using a 0, just to make sure. Tried both. Okay. I can't even log into the coupon part of the game. I keep trying and it keeps try again later. Okay, Nevitz, I would send in a support ticket again because that sounds more like there might be something wrong with your account rather than the code itself. But I did record that your code isn't working. Ari, I'm gonna go ahead and send your code over and say this one's not working. Now, Ari, is it saying this code can't be used multiple times, or is it saying can't use this code? Which notification? Which games do I play on stream? Mine worked fine. That is absolutely wonderful, Flutter. Have a wonderful day. BDO is an amazing game. Right now, I mostly only play BDO as I am an official Perlibis creator. But every once in a while, it says can't use code. Okay, that actually helps me a lot because that says what could be wrong with your account. But every once in a while, my chat begs me to play a different game. Like, I've played Predecessor on stream. I've played Dead by Daylight. I do not do well with horror games. Loud noises, jump scares, spooky things. I don't do well with it, and it messes with my heart. My heart's already not very good. I have played it. I do not enjoy it. Freaks me out. Um, but I have played some other games on stream. Any interest in Crimson Desert? Yes, I do have a lot of interest in Crimson Desert, but I want to do Crimson Desert on stream with you guys and do a big RP playthrough. But I need to be healthy enough to be able to do that. Ari, I'm going to make sure you get a code that works. Do not worry. I'm going to bother Ash until we get you a code that works. I should try it on stream once. If my chat really wants me to, I will be willing. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I do have a Discord. If you let me go ahead and ping it for you. There we go. Ari, I'm gonna make sure you get that. And I do want to do a Crimson Desert stream with you guys, but I need to be healthy enough to do a longer set stream because with RPGs like that, I get super invested and I end up playing a really long time at one sitting. And if I'm doing that while live, I'll make myself really, really sick if I don't balance it out. So I need to try and wait for when I'm feeling a little better. But I will be doing a Crimson Desert stream for you guys because PA, the absolute goats, the goats, gave me a copy to play on stream with you guys. They gave me a copy of Crimson Desert to be able to play with you guys. So I am so excited to be able to do that, but my health has just been really bad for the past few months, so I haven't been able to, but I will be trying. I promise you guys I am trying to be able to do it. But it is a little taxing, I'll say. I am getting some responses. Alrighty, Ari, I'm gonna send you a new code. This code should work for you. Go ahead and try this one. Nevitz, they did agree that putting in a support ticket might be the best way to handle it, so if you go ahead and do that, they might be able to get you fixed for your coupon codes. And they'll be able to help you a little more directly than I can as well. But Ari, this code should work for you. It is a brand new code that was generated like 30 seconds ago. So this one should work for you wonderfully. Hold on, where's my... There's Ari. You're a different color in my Twitch dashboard. It's very confusing. Alrighty, this code should work for you, Ari. Please let me know if it does or doesn't. Alrighty, while we wait for Ari to try and put in the code to see if it works, anyone have any questions? So you're gonna go to, if you're using your phone, Kari's emote, Kari can have mine. I will continue bothering Ash until Ari gets a code that works. But if you're on your phone, you're gonna go to the main page, and there's up at the top. There's gonna be a little like chat box with a 1. You're gonna click that, and it'll open up your whispers, and you're gonna see me that whispered you a bunch of random letters. Oh, interesting, interesting. Ash just raised a very excellent point. Yeah, my mods are usually on top of accepting people into the Discord. Sometimes they slack. Don't worry, I can do it when I pay attention. There you go. Welcome. Ash did bring up an excellent point. For you, those of you that are having trouble, if your account is either not linked currently or not linked correctly to the current account you have everything going to, you won't be able to enter codes. So I will make sure you have all your account stuff linked correctly and everything set up, because that could be the issue you aren't working. But let us go ahead and try that one first, Ari, to see if it works or not. Alright, does anyone have any other questions about the game, mechanics, some more lore, as we try and see if all of this works or not? Do you watch movies or series? Yeah. I have not watched Stranger Things, no. Yay, it worked! Woo! Yay! My endless harassing of Ash, who puts up with me. I absolutely adore Ash, because I am a nuisance. But it worked, and we got you a code that worked. Absolutely love that. Enjoy your code, Ari. I do love being able to help you guys get all of that fixed. Alrighty. I have been live for close to 3 hours now. My throat is on fire. If there is nothing else anyone needs, I will be calling the stream here. Have a wonderful rest of y'all's night. Please, please do stay safe and have fun. And if you ever do feel like it, please do come watch again. I am usually live. I go to Node War. I sass my GM in shot colors endlessly. I yap about the lore, whatever it pops into my mind. I have so much knowledge, I can answer pretty much any question you'll have. So feel free to come, please watch, or bother me on any of the Discords. I can answer there too. But with that, I am off for the night. Goodbye.